Welcome to the Mind Body Mushroom, where warriors, seekers, and rebels explore the front lines of healing. I'm your host, Jordan Ryan. From combat to consciousness, we dive into real stories, ancient wisdom, and the forgotten tools that help us reclaim our minds, our health, and our power. This show is made possible by Wind and Sea Coffee, our line of adaptogen-infused coffee products crafted for resilience, clarity, and performance. If you want to support the mission, visit windandseacoffee.com. My guest today is Daniel Corbett III, a man whose life reads like a covert ops thriller, except every word is true. Dan is a former Navy SEAL who served with SEAL Teams 5, 6, and 17. He was part of DEVGRU's Red Squadron and participated in high-stakes missions, including the 2009 rescue of Captain Phillips off the coast of Somalia. After leaving active duty, Dan entered the clandestine world of private military contracting. His work took him from anti-piracy operations in Africa to intelligence gathering in the Middle East, and eventually to Belgrade, Serbia, where he was arrested in 2017 while on assignment. Accused of plotting to assassinate the Serbian president, he spent 18 months in a Serbian prison before being acquitted. Dan chronicles his incredible journey in his book, American Mercenary, the riveting high-risk world of an elite SEAL team operator turned hired gun. It's a raw, unfiltered look at the murky world of modern warfare and the challenges veterans face when transitioning to civilian life. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, bud. And I appreciate the intro. That was solid.
Yeah, man. Everything right there. Well, we're gonna
good
stuff that I just didn't know.
I was arrested in 2018, but I'm not. I don't remember exactly.
The years run together.
Yeah, it all kind of blends together.
Cool. So let's start maybe back from when you joined the Navy. When did you join, and what was your motivation?
I joined it's when I was a junior in high school at 17. Motivation was someone asked me what I was doing after high school, and I loved high school. It was great, I was having a blast. So I didn't really think of life after, and I don't come from a family of academia like, hey, you need to start doing community service and apply to these colleges. That was never even brought up. So I really had no plan. And I was 16. So being that young and, having that huge lack of self-awareness, I thought that was life. And I didn't think about tomorrow or next year or 5 years. I just thought this was it. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to wake up and actually have a plan. I didn't know what I was going to do. And this guy who asked me, he handed me the video. It's a VHS tape. I think it's History Channel or Nat Geo. And it was super awesome documentary on Navy SEALs. And I was like, that looks like a good option.
The class 230.
No.
No, not that one.
This was a good documentary. No, it was all about Vietnam. It was put out back in the day. Yeah. It was on VHS tape. It was old.
Right. And was your dad in the military?
Yeah, my dad was in the Army, and he was HVAC. I believe that's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess it kind of ran in your family a little bit. You kind of saw, would you consider yourself an Army brat? Was that an aspect?
Yeah, I had that experience. We traveled a bunch. I was born in Hawaii, spent a year there, then Arizona, Texas, Germany, Northern California, and
sure.
Army brat in that sense, but I didn't grow up in a household where dad was like, you call me sir and nothing crazy like that. Right. So Army brat as far as travel, yes.
Sure. So then you joined, and did you know you were kind of going to go into the BUDS program? I guess you kind of got...
Yeah, so when I saw that video, I was like, okay, cool, let me go to the recruiting station and start asking questions. And at that time, people in the military knew what being a Navy SEAL was, but not a whole lot of people outside of it.
Right.
And I went into the recruiting station. I said, hey, I want to be a Navy SEAL. And they're like, sure. So is everyone else, right? And I'm like, no, I'm serious. What steps do I need to take? Like, how old are you? And I told them. They're like, hey, you got a year before you can even do a delayed entry. Delayed entry is you can join at 17 with signature from your parents. And then as soon as you graduate high school, you can leave. I said, okay, so what are the steps? Okay, are you physically fit? Do you do drugs? Have you been arrested? Like none of that was an issue. And then I said, hey, like what are the schools you need? Because it's always fluctuated, but when I was set to go, you had to pick a regular Navy A school before going through selection of buds because the attrition rate was so high. And what had been happening was before they had that rule in place, guys would be in the buds pipeline for like 2 years, make rank over just time, and then not make it through for whatever reason, and then be in the Navy like 3 years with no job. And then they'd have to send him to a regular Navy A school. And, like, hey, these are the 10 or 20 or however many rates you can pick. So start looking at these, and obviously the recruiter is going to try to do the needs of the Navy. He's like, oh man, gunners mate. I'm like, oh, guns sound interesting. SEAL. And I looked it up, and it's like 6 months long, and it's like the weapon systems on ships, like destroyers. I'm like, wait, what? And I said, what's the shortest one? So I just started doing more research. So yeah, I knew I wanted to go in the Navy and go into that program 100%. I wanted nothing else. I didn't want to do anything else besides that.
Oh, so you had to actually go to the A school before they sent you to buds, or this is...
Yeah, so this was...
Interesting.
Yes, so...
Gotcha.
I knew I wanted... So the way it worked, I signed up, delayed entry. I picked the shortest school, which is parachute rigger, 4 weeks in Florida, Pensacola, and I was guaranteed the opportunity to take a physical screener for buds at boot camp. You get the green checkbox, go to your A school, did 4 weeks in Pensacola, took another screener test for buds, and then I got my orders after A school. Boom, straight to Coronado.
That's interesting. So when I joined, there was kind of a similar deal, but they didn't actually send you to the A school. So you depped in, and then while you're in the dep process, you're kind of competing for that SEAL contract. And if you never got the SEAL contract, then I guess you would go to the A school. And so a similar deal. I had no idea like any of these fucking jobs. You just kind of take the ASVAB. And for some reason, dude, I picked like nuclear sub something. And like, oh my God, dude, I could not imagine a worse situation, like in retrospect, than ending up on a submarine in any capacity. Like,
yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, no thanks. So anyway, so you go through school, you get to buds. Was there anything you really struggled with at buds?
No, not really. And I feel like a dick saying this. People ask me all the time. I'm like, it's not really that hard. The run times and the swim times, you don't even need to be like a competitive high school athlete to pass, right? You just have to do it every day. The hardest part was day one when we did our first run as a class. And I think this is day one, week one, pre-hell week. We had like 270 people there, right? And we do a 4 mile timed run. And I'm like in the front of the back third of the pack. And I'm running. And I'm like, whoa, I'm going to fail. Like, I'm having an off day. I don't know. Maybe the distances I thought I was running back home, getting ready, were off. Like, this is crazy. I'm so far back. And I ran like a crazy good time after, the turnaround point, and we got back to where the instructors were. And I was like, holy shit, like these guys are fast. Like, I was like, okay, I'm now, the big fish in a big pond versus the small farm town I was training in. It was like, oh, wow, that guy can run a mile under 10 minutes. He's lightning, right? And then, you go to buds and everybody's fit. And I was like, oh, so it was very humbling and a wake up call. But as far as the day to day, I mean, it sucks, but something being uncomfortable, I don't think necessarily makes it difficult, right? Like, laying down isn't difficult. Spray some cold water on you in the ocean, it sucks, but it's still not difficult. It just sucks.
Totally.
It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, it definitely, like, if you kind of take any day in isolation, it's all pretty doable, assuming you're not getting, VGE, SIPE,
Yeah.
break a fucking bone, something like that.
I wouldn't even take each day at a time. I take each evolution at a time.
Right.
It's wake up. What am I doing now? I'm running to the chow hall. What am I doing now? I'm eating food. What am I doing? Like, even the day can be daunting, right? So I just look at it like, what am I doing right now?
Right.
Let's do that.
Yeah, and that's a good sort of like mindset for a lot of other shit in life, is sort of, the totality of the thing that you're trying to accomplish can be really intimidating and, seemingly impossible, but just by kind of like whittling it down into like the, what am I doing this moment? They say, break it into each meal, let's get to lunch, let's get to fucking dinner, that made a lot. So I never really talk about my bud story, but there's some interesting stuff that I want to like ask you about. So I made it till fucking Bulletproof Friday on the third week of phase, like right before Hell Week, on Monday. And the class, over the course of those weeks, they're kind of, your boat crew's changing as people, disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So, we get into a height line, and we're about to do land portage. That's like the evolution we were about to go on. And I get to my boat, and I notice that there's like, this dude's an officer, this dude's an officer, this dude's an officer, this dude's an officer, and me. So there's like 5 officers and myself, which is like a little unusual, just because usually it's you have maybe a couple officers in a boat crew, but they're kind of spread out, among like the boats as like boat crew leaders. And then it kind of occurred to me that these guys in this boat crew are all like savage runners, like 730 mile and a half. Like they had kind of like stacked this, like pays to be a winner kind of situation. And even at this point, like, it still hasn't occurred to me that this is like a problem. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm with a fast boat crew. Like, this is going to be dope. And then, so I think I started off in like the 3 spot, and we start moving, and we're like way out in front. And I'm like, oh fuck, this is like when it's like dawning on me. I'm like, dude, this is going to be rough. And so we're running, and at some point, like, I fucking can't keep up. I start falling out of the back. The instructors fucking swarm over, blood in the water. They put me in the 2 spot, and now I'm just like getting crushed in this 2. And I'm kind of like hoping that like my boat crew's going to be like, all right, let's just fucking, let this dude catch his breath, like this. They're like not having this. So they just keep fucking, full speed ahead. And at some point, I'm now a liability to the boat, and they're like, stay the fuck out. And it kind of fucked me up for years thinking about this. It's like this, one of these things that like plays over in your head, like, what could I have done different?
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst of the worst. You get ostracized, which is the worst punishment ever, and then you're getting ostracized for. I mean, these guys were freak runners. You're getting ostracized because you're not good enough.
Right.
To them, even though they have this giant lead and they don't need to do this pace.
Right.
So, but on paper, if you just looked at it, like, I got left out of the group because I'm not fast enough.
Yeah.
Right. If you just looked at it super plainly. Yeah.
No, 100%. And, what I kind of realized that was a surprise to me. And I guess this is what I want to ask you, because I don't know if this was similar in your class, or, so we had some of our cadre was from DEVGRU. I don't know if do you know Master Chief Flash? Did you ever work with that dude?
Yeah, I know who he is.
Oh, yeah. Cool. So I don't know why he was in charge of anything at first phase, but so he was kind of and it seemed like part of the mind games that, when you class up, it's like all your fucking enlisted dudes that you were in boot camp with and prep and everything. And you have this mentality of like, it's us versus them. Like, yeah, there's turds in the class, but like, who the good guys are, and we're going to, circle the wagons and just try getting through this together. But then you get some officers that you don't, you didn't go to boot camp with these guys. They're coming from Annapolis. You really don't like class up with them until maybe Bo, or even first day of phase. I don't remember exactly when, but so they don't really know who you are, like what your vibe is, and the instructors kind of feed into this. So they're like trying to have your OICs and LPOs kind of like turn on the class, and they would say shit. We'd be being surf tortured, and they're like, "We're gonna do this until 5 people quit," And rather than being like, like "fuck you," like kill us, then I don't really, you'd have like your LPO of the class calling people out by name to like quit.
No, that's brutal.
So,
and they're stupid for believing that too.
Right, and that's what kind of was interesting is about the because there wasn't a lot of like, I mean, there was that kind of all throughout the phase, but especially as Hell Week is starting this next week, and I think there was the little like whispers in their ears like, hey, breakout's going to be this much easier if you guys trim the fat now, get rid of the people that aren't supposed to be there. And I'm thinking in my mind, like, no, you want fat, it's going to be a lot easier to kind of stay gray and stay in the middle.
I think my experience is totally different. I think maybe it's gotten that way because people know too much about buds. Like, we didn't know anything. There was no books or prep, or you just showed up. So there was no like planning or if we do this, it's going to be that. I worked at Hell Week as an instructor, and people were switching positions in boats. Like, that was never a thing.
Interesting.
You just got in your spot. I was always number 2 on the left side. Like, that's it. Why would we switch? Oh, because this side's easier. By how much? Shut the fuck up and run. Instead of doing this weird thing where you're trying to run and switch positions, stop.
That's so interesting.
What are you doing? Just run. Just go. Guys try to gamify everything so much now because they know they inundate with all this information and they go, okay, we're going to figure this out now. Sure, but you can plan it, but it's like what Tyson said, you have a plan until you punch in the face. The instructors aren't going to go exactly like that. It's not going to end when you get exactly 5 quitters. So I don't know why I think there's too much information out there, and like the post movies and books and everything. And I think there's a book called Breaking Buds or all this shit. So like people read all these things, they try to game it, and you actually end up making it harder for yourself than just, I'm just going to show up and do what they say. That's all we knew when I went through, and that's it. So there was no like weird agenda and like playing like a reality TV show like Survivor where we're trying to boat dudes off the island, and we're just like, I'm just gonna go.
Never thought about it like that.
If you suck and you fall out, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just gonna keep going. There wasn't enough information to even develop plans to do this shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such an interesting perspective. And so anyway, I end up failing out of buds. Go do my time on a ship. I was undesignated. And I kind of, we go straight to deployment, so out in the Gulf. And the whole time I'm thinking just like, how do I get back into a program? Like maybe buds, maybe EOD, whatever it is, just trying to get out there. But what I wanted to bring up about on the ship, because I wanted to ask you just out of curiosity, have you ever seen those, like, I think it's called like the Sea Lion or something like that? It's like a big ass, like a really pointy nose craft. It kind of like sits like semi-submersible.
I think those were after my time.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
It was one of the weirdest things, and I didn't know if it was like a SWIC thing or if it was like a SEAL boat. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, we had some team guys on the ship that were using this, and was because it was in an amphib ship. So as like the boat would ballast down, it would be a guy like standing up with like a PlayStation controller basically, and you'd be like piloting it into the.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's after my time.
Yeah, interesting. So you get through buds, and was there anything that you really enjoyed about SQT?
SQT was really cool. I mean, I think we graduated my buds class with like 17 original people who started. Wow. So it was cool. We were living off base by then. It was kind of more big boy roles. You weren't you didn't make it yet, but you had like a lot of weight off your shoulders. I mean, you're still being scrutinized, you're still in a selection process, but it felt cool. Like I'm well on my way, right? Like you've been invited to the next step. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Like this is happening. This is real. And I'm not a waterman. I don't surf. I don't like the ocean. I mean, I respect the ocean. So like the water evolutions, I deal with, but it was really cool in SQT, and especially even in third phase and buds when like you actually start to pick up the commando stuff. And I think most people, when they're like, "Oh, I want to be a Navy SEAL," I think they say it when they're like running around playing paintball or like they see a cool gunfight on TV. I don't think when you're swimming in your neighborhood pool and you're doing laps, you're like, yeah, this is what being a SEAL is, right? It's like the commando stuff, and we're, setting up tripwires and booby traps and shooting. And I was like, okay, now we're doing the stuff like I really find interesting also.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like it's what, almost 2 years into your fucking joining, and it's
you got boot camp, A school, buds,
yeah,
SQT, jump, Kodiak, Alaska. Yeah.
So I know you ended up at Team 5. Was there something specific about 5 that you wanted to go to? I know that there's different kind of cultures within the teams, like 1, 3, 5, 7. How are they a little different? What was the culture like at 5 compared to the other West Coast teams?
Well, culture changes with the people at the command, right? And when you don't really get to pick, you get to write a wish list, right? When you're in SQT, and I was like 5, 3, 7, and I went that order because at the time, until Team 1 was known as like No Fun 1, so I was like, I don't want to go there. And then we would always see the Team 5 guys out. They got new buildings and now they moved again, but before they had these little Quonset huts, and it was kind of like a frat house, and guys were out like doing water balloon launches into the grinder on the bud students. I'm like, oh, that's cool. What team was that? Like, oh, that's Team 5. I'm like, okay, I'll put that down. It's my list.
Yeah. That's cool. So the 5 building was still on the compound, like it's where like all the Team 1, Team 3, it's all.
Yeah, but it wasn't a building. It was like an old
interesting
airplane hangar.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. And how does like the East Coast teams kind of compare to the West Coast teams? Because I've heard kind of like proximity to the flagpole is like a thing. You know what I mean? No. Okay.
No, I mean, they're exactly the same. They're just on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Right before 9/11, each team had a specialty. Like Team 4 was South America. Team 5 was like cold weather. They had all these specialties, and I don't know if geographically advantageous which coast. I don't really know. But after Iraq kicked off, we couldn't have the one West Coast team that was like the desert team and the one East Coast team that was the desert team just be there forever.
Right.
So they kind of canceled the specialty areas of operation and got everybody on a cycle to just rotate. So the teams are no different. You're going to have different cultures, right? You have a different culture from 1, 3, 5, 7 and 2, 4, 8, 10. So, but like, oh, East Coast is that, West Coast is that? No,
not really.
It's just a different rotation.
Interesting. Now, did you have the desire at this time to screen green team, or was this something that came later?
I didn't even know what it was. Yeah. And then when I did hear about like whispers of it, I heard like really negative stuff about it. And then come to find out that was a guy who screened and didn't get picked up.
Yeah.
And funny story, I was flying back from my Iraq deployment. We flew to the East Coast and did calm air back to San Diego. And I sat next to a dude that was green team cadre flying out to screen DEVGRU candidates on the West Coast. And he's like, oh, he knew who I was. We were talking. And he said, why are we seeing like record low numbers for guys on the West Coast to screen? I said, well, I don't really know anything about this place.
Right.
I just got back from Iraq in summer of 2005. I did like 126 direct actions. I lived in San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what else do you want? It wasn't like that was the only place to get work. We were getting work at SEAL Team 5. Why would I even go live in Virginia?
Right.
And the biggest thing they were about to change was that you don't need to PCS to start Green Team. They were going to cut guys temporary orders, collect per diem until they graduate Green Team, and then PCS over.
Oh, wow.
I said, if you do that, I think guys will come. And then when they did that, you had a lot more guys willing to try out and not get stuck in Virginia because they didn't make it through.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And yeah, dude, it's funny. It's funny how even the times changed. Dude, there were fucking dudes in boot camp that were talking about like, so I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna screen Green Team, and then I'm gonna do this. Like, just the level of information.
That's such the wrong mentality because, like,
yeah, that's interesting.
For one, no, you're not, and you don't fucking know anything.
Right.
Two, if you have that mentality, I really don't think you'll get far because you need to be very present and move with intent in the thing you're doing the moment you're doing it. And if you're so focused that I'm going to go this and then do that, you're not going to be present. And I've even talked to Green Team cadre later in my career when I was an instructor, and they were telling the students, oh, we got to get to the SEAL Team 6, blah, blah. I said, stop. Some of my best years were at SEAL Team 5 too. Like, I had a blast there. And I don't know, telling a young guy that ain't shit until you get to the other place is the best thing for him. Because I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I was just so focused on this other thing. Just be good at what you do, and people will find you, and you will be asked to go do stuff. That's it. Yeah.
Now I want to ask you some more stuff about DEVGRU in a little bit, but just because we're kind of talking about it now and comparing it to your standard SEAL teams, as a tier 1 unit, theoretically you have a much larger repertoire of things you could be doing, like red teaming stuff or anti-nuclear, whatever the fuck. When did you find it was mostly like just direct action, just at a higher level, and how did it kind of compare to what you were doing at Team 5?
I mean, there's that's a lot of aspects to cover. So I think on paper it's counter-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction and hostage rescue. Like, that's what it is. And testing and evaluating tactics and equipment. But when that's not going on and there's 2 hot areas to work, we're going to go work. Mm-hmm. It was, a lot of people say this, it's what you thought the SEAL teams would be, right? Mm-hmm. Because at SEAL Team 6, there are no new guys. And if you don't keep up, you're gone. So the level at which people can develop and learn new processes and execute them is so fast. And I've always been, pretty quick learner. It was very nice to be around others. Like, that was the norm. And the difference was just everyone was super on top of it. Everyone was super smart. We had the funding to just train as much as we wanted. And it was different for sure.
Was it ever like intimidating knowing that like you could be kind of cut at any moment, a safety violation here, or not kind of learning on your feet quick enough, and now you're
No, I I never really thought about stuff like that. And I think most people who do well don't. Like,
Yeah.
If you're a Formula One driver and you're always thinking about crashing, I don't think you're going to win, right? You'll probably end up crashing. So I was the same way as I always do everything. What do you want me to do? All right, I'll go do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go do it the best way I think I know how. And if I mess up, I'm sure you'll tell me. Like, that's it. When those thoughts would come up to somebody, or like, oh, I have anxiety or I'm nervous, I'd ask people, like, how is that serving you in this moment? It's not. Okay, just go do your thing then. Why are you thinking about it? Is it benefiting you? No, then what are you doing?
It's wise, because there's so much in life is kind of that way too, and not to jump around, but this is something that I remember reading about in your book, and something that I also kind of struggle with is, like, when you were awaiting sentencing or what the fuck they were going to do with you in Serbia, you were like, I just want to know how long I'm going to be here, and then, like, all right, where it's sort of this, like, unknowns, and just kind of like, I can't control this, but I don't have any clarity on what this is going to go. Like, that's hard for me too. It's like, I could deal with good news, I could deal with bad news, but just not knowing what the fuck is going on is sometimes harder than just taking it on the chin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I just really stop and I go, okay, what can I control? What can I not control? How am I feeling? Okay, are these feelings serving me? No? Okay, then let's focus on something you can control. And then I just move on from there.
Right. So let's go back to maybe a deployment as a Team 5 guy. So where, I guess you were going to the Middle East. Did you say you were going to Iraq?
Yeah, we were in Baghdad, Ramadi, and Habaniya, summer of 2005 in Iraq.
Okay. So let's see. When did we enter? 2002, I guess. That was like when, sometime around then. Were you involved at all with like the like big Ramadi battle?
No, I think that was a more conventional force, like Marines just going around shit stomping dudes with like APVs.
Yeah. So what was sort of your mission set there?
Just direct actions, just doing DAs at night. Yeah.
Wow. So you get back from your deployment. You're kind of on your cycle. What did you do for ProDev? Did you go to any schools?
Yeah, I ended up going to breacher school before that deployment. And then this was before jump free fall was involved. So I went to breacher school and then free fall.
Gotcha. Was that breacher something that you wanted to go specifically, or was it sort of just the needs the team was?
I mean, it was weird, right? Like, I just like carrying a gun and shooting stuff. I was like, why? I don't want to carry more shit. But they're like, hey, dude, go to breacher school. Okay, so I'm happy I did. It was cool to learn about, all the explosive charges and ways to get in, and all the different techniques. So, I mean, it was good. And all these schools, besides the really tangible skill sets you get, like, oh, I know how to make this and do that. It makes you a better operator as a whole, as far as critical thinking and how you approach situations. It just helps you grow holistically as well. So, like, I'm happy for any school I go to now and ever, even after going to breacher school. I kind of looked at each school I went to with an approach of taking all aspects of the school itself and applying that to me to be a better operator.
Yeah, right. Were there any other schools that you really wanted to go to? Like, kind of.
I wanted to go to sniper school.
Yeah.
But so did everyone else. So I kind of was waiting in line.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as I got to a place of seniority to be able to, that's when I was asked to put in a package to screen for DEVGRU. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
So at some point you deployed to the Philippines, is that right?
Yeah. So after that first deployment, I talked to that guy on the plane, and then my best buddy was like, "Hey, I want to screen." And I said, "Okay, I'll screen with you." So he goes, "Okay, after we get back from the Philippines, we'll screen." And that's when the Master Chief pulled us up, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm glad you're putting the package in. I really want you to do this. It's okay, I'll do it." So we went to the Philippines. Fun deployment, different. It was a little frustrating because Iraq was still popping off, and I was a breacher, so like I had a skill set too, which is another blessing and can be a curse to having certain skills and schools under your belt. I had like a brown bag on my pallet to go to the Philippines with all my desert camo stuff in case they needed a breacher. Hey,
Yeah.
But that was going to happen because I was taking, at the time, it was called Tagalog, not Filipino. I was taking Tagalog lessons. So I was like the one dude that could speak Tagalog. So there was no way they were going to cut me away.
You're stuck.
So yeah, I knew we were going to screen after we got back from the Philippines.
Gotcha. Was it kind of like a FID mission out there?
It was crazy. They're like, hey, I was out at an outstation middle of nowhere, which is pretty badass. It was like a castle made of cinder blocks. And in bad guy land, we had 2 Humvees in the castle, and we had explosive charges to blow up the Humvees and the castle if we got overrun.
No way.
If we were there with Swick boats, we were all going to jump in the Zodiacs, drive 100 meters, get on the Mark Vs, and bounce if we got overrun.
No shit.
Yeah. And there was like time fuses and everything. So I'm like, so I'm going to go house, get all their stuff, house, Humvee, like, going through it all. Like, how are we going to do this? It was like me, 2 dudes, and Chief. And that was it.
Oh, so it wasn't like a full platoon there.
No, we were out middle of nowhere. Yeah.
That's wild.
And they're like, hey, train the Filipino Marines and SEALs out there with you on jungle warfare. I'm like, what do you want? I did 2 weeks in Mississippi. You think I know jungle? These guys live in the jungle. He's in a coconut tree right now having a nap. Like, what do you want me to tell him? Yeah.
So my one of my buddies that I was in buds with, and then we ended up going into the recon corpsman program, and so he's over at MARSOC, and he's done some FID deployments out in the Philippines. Told me some crazy fucking stories. He was talking about, like, I mean, these guys will do like 2-man patrols out. This will be like the recon Marines out there, and they'll do like 2-man patrols out just in the jungle. And he was saying that like the ISIS guys out there, they smoke like meth, or like they do some sort of like crazy, amphetamine type drugs, and they'll just be fucking up all night. And so the Marines were not on meth, but they'll still be in these 2-man patrols, and they'll be awake for like 2 days straight, just kind of like going through the jungle. And he was saying that, like, he was talking to some of these Marines out there, and they were like, telling him stories, like, matter of factly, like, not like it's just like a totally normal thing to say, but that they smoke this meth, the ISIS guys, and they do magic. And he's like, what do you mean they do magic? And he's like, yeah, no, they'll do stuff. So he's like, you'll have them like in your scope, and you'll take a shot, and you'll see like a puff of smoke come up, and then they'll be somewhere else, and so like they're like teleporting, and like my buddy's like, yeah, I mean, you've been awake for 2 days, like, I could totally see, like, it gets all Heart of Darkness-y out there, you're just sort of like in the jungle, no sleep, just constantly on red alert, and then these dudes are culturally doing various things that everyone there is sort of just accepting is a form of their reality. And just fucking wild, dude. Have like their little machete things, I forget, like their bolos, and everyone's like stoked when they like get to blood their bolos on a bad guy. But pretty wild, like just a very different mindset.
There's a lot of jungles out there and people doing whatever they're doing, bro. It was a cool place to see. Yeah.
Did you ever experience any sort of like crazy shit kind of like that, or just stuff where you're like, it felt, you could always kind of go back and rationalize it and be like, oh, I was tired, or like, something like this. But did you ever anything that was sort of like you think about late at night every once in a while, like that's kind of weird?
No, man. I mean, my stuff was pretty cut and dry, especially, being at the command I ended up at, like well rested, wake up as the sun's going down. Who's the guy? That's the guy. All right, cool. Get on the helicopter, go do what you do, come back and play Xbox. Like that was it.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't up for like 5 days on a mountaintop shooting it out and getting all delirious. It was like, okay, do your job, come home.
Right.
That was it.
That's interesting. So you screen green team, I guess what was, how did you find that different from buds, like specifically as a pipeline, I guess?
Yeah, green team was just all skill sets. I mean, yeah, you have to be fit and run and stuff, but the best way I describe it is in green team, you can make a Monday mistake on Monday, but if you make a Monday mistake on Tuesday, you're gone, because we're trying to get guys that once they get to the team, we can try and implement new stuff. Mm-hmm. Guys who need to, attain what we're, really understand what's going on and apply it, and not hold back everyone else because you're just not getting it fast enough. You're gone. Mm-hmm. So the pace at which people learn new skills and actually know them, not like you're cramming for a test and then the next day you regurgitate it and forget it. I mean, actually knowing it and moving on that's the difference. The speed at which guys can do that, that's what it is.
Interesting. And how much of what you're, you hear sometimes like at the highest levels, it's like complete mastery of the basics. It's like they do the fundamentals so fucking well that it's like that is kind of, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training. How much of it is it that versus how much of it is like, you are implementing novel tactics and weapons and stuff?
No, it's super non-sexy answer. It's just I'm just really good at doing the basic thing. Mm-hmm. Right. You can start getting into, you have like someone who's like entry level, and then like intermediate, advanced, and then you have someone who's an expert, and then you have someone who's a master at something. And I think when you become a master at something, that's when you can start to say, hey, why don't we try this? What if we put my forward hand grip sideways and now I have a post on the side of my gun for my hand? But you don't even need to get to that level to perform well at SEAL Team 6. You will see, like me, and the way I set up my gun, it's different than a lot of other people's because it works for me. You can do stuff like that individually as long as it doesn't affect the tactics as the group, right? Because it's like, hey, Dan's really good at doing this thing where he puts it on this shoulder and slides on his knee and then jumps up. And it's like, well, we're not going to implement that because that's what he can do, right? Mm-hmm. But if you want to set your gear, that's when you can start messing with your gear and tiny little things. But the rest is all mastering the basics and being the best at that.
Interesting. So it was maybe a little bit more rigid at your vanilla teams in terms of like
you don't get it's not more rigid, you don't get the reps.
Yeah.
If my group is 6 dudes and we're in the kill house, guess what? I'm making entry is a 1 and 2 man, 3 and 4 man, or like, when they call 1 on me, 2 in, like you're getting more room entries. When you go to do a work trip with your sister platoon and your whole troop, you got like 126 dudes. So you go do kill house runs, you might get to make 1 room entry in 8 hours, right? So you don't get the reps in, you don't get the hours, the 10,000 hours, the neuroplasticity of like all that stuff, getting it down because you got to wait in line.
Interesting. Right. Now, the aspect of it being development group, so like something you mentioned is, developing or testing out the new like weapons and shit. Was there without going into stuff you can't talk about, but what type of stuff are you guys testing? Like just
I think
weapons systems?
different manufacturers would show us like a new sight or a new gun, and like I never really saw anything come to fruition. A lot of the stuff is like way bigger, not waterproof, too many cables, and you're like, I can't even. Just opening the box, I can't use this.
Mm-hmm.
Just like nope, like it doesn't even pass the visual inspection, first impressions. Like I'm not using that.
Yeah.
Thing's bigger than my plate carrier. Get out of here, right? I mean, that is the place. I think there's a whole group within that group that really does that, and I was never a part of that.
Interesting. Actually, that kind of leads into something I did want to ask you about. So I know, I know you were part of Red Squadron, and you kind of have like Gold Squadron. These more like direct actiony. But there's, I guess, Black Squadron, which is kind of like your recce teams. Do guys want to go that way? Are those typically more senior guys? Like what sort of?
I have no idea.
Really?
I knew it existed, but I don't even know what they did. I didn't know anyone there, and I didn't know anyone.
The squadrons then are fairly isolated in their like
not by design, just by logistics. Because again, I'm sure they must have had the specialties beforehand, but it's just a rotation thing, just for rotation. Like these guys are good at this, and these guys do that. I mean, even at the squadron I was at, I didn't even see the other troop of my squadron half the time.
Really? Just because?
So like seeing guys from like blue or gold or whatever, you would never see them because you didn't even see half of your own dudes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just op tempo. They're just fucking
op tempo training.
Yeah. Interesting. Did you ever see any SARCs at DEVGRU?
I don't even know what that is.
That's the answer. They're like the recon corpsmen.
No, we had PJs.
Yeah, that's interesting. That
so
is.
We had the
PJs don't even go to SOCM or the Long Corps.
Yeah, but they have their own tier 1 selection. Like they're good.
Gotcha.
We have
tier 1 PJ.
Yeah, so they're like a tier 1 Air Force unit that we pull PJs and combat controllers from. That will come hang out before we deploy and like jump in the kill house with us and shit too. So
interesting. Yeah. Let's see. I guess we could talk about this. I heard you say something on another podcast about the overmatch when you're in, like, let's say Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. It's like going up to a drunk guy in a bar who doesn't know that you're there, and you just kind of like cold clock him. That's the level of overmatch you're trying. You don't want it to be a fair fight.
No.
But now I don't mean now, but thinking about these near peer threats. The Taliban are dirt farmers in sandals, and that, not to say that they're not serious fighters, but like, yeah, dude, they don't have nods and ISR and all this other shit that we have that kind of creates that dynamic. How do you kind of see that like future of warfare, when you're taking into account those near peer threats?
Near peer is loosely thrown around. You could have near peer technology, but doesn't mean you know how to use it, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we have these things. Like, okay, were you in sustained combat for over 10 years in 2 countries? No. So cool thing you have. You don't even know what you're doing, right? So we'll call near peer capabilities as far as equipment and technology. We'll say that because I don't really think there's any near peer as far as fighting actual combat goes. I think people are already starting to address it, having running passive nods by having a red dot instead of a laser that you look through on your night vision with the raised mount. And I think as the technology builds and states and countries become actually near peer, I think it's going to be the same as people holding on to nukes. I think it's just going to be like, don't mess with us because we have this too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it might actually like really almost stop conflict.
Interesting.
Right? Because it's like, oh, Afghanistan, sure, we'll go stomp them. Oh, this country, they have surface-to-air missiles. They have awesome defense. They have night vision. It's like, okay, maybe we go to negotiations table longer with these guys before we, start a bloodbath.
Right.
So I think it's going to be more of an insurance policy and make people a little bit more cautious about just going in and doing something.
Wow. That's
and then if you go all the way, if it's inevitable, then you're just gonna have to go back to the old times, right? And just go iron sights, no radios, can't be tracked, nothing can be jammed because nothing's electronic. Then you'd have to fight that way and go kind of backwards with technology and not rely on it.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you probably have been following like the Ukraine conflict. It's interesting seeing. It feels like every generation there is a conflict where like the technology kind of advances faster than the tactics, and so you end up with fucking trench warfare, and IED drones. You know what I mean? You're like, it's like World War I mixed with World War III, and it's just a fucking meat grinder.
Yeah. And I think even seeing that almost crystallizes my point even more. It's like, hey, these guys have this, we have this. Do we really, like, we see how it's panning out now.
Right.
Do we really want our guys to go do that shit?
Yeah. Right. And to your point about the tactics going back, so it's like, okay, there's drones, right? Like these little like DJI FPV drones, and then you have jammers to stop. Then you have jammers for the jammers. Then you have drones that are going on different wavelengths. And I saw this video. It was basically like the Russians had set up along one of their like routes, like their convoy routes, just a fucking net, just a big net on top of it, because it's like you can't get the drones in. So it's like you go to these like super low tech tactics, because it's you can over engineer shit. That's one thing, kind of to your point about pulling the shit out of a box when you're testing security. Like, what am I going to do with this? Is it seems like the U.S. military industrial complex is they love over engineering stuff. And when you have a cost plus model, it's like, what's the downside? Like, just make it as expensive as you can. That makes more money for us.
I think a lot of over engineering is done on purpose too, so they can have a proprietary product.
Interesting.
Right? Like ours does this, and this. Like, I only need to do one of those things. Don't care about the other five.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh yeah, did you guys ever kind of red team any facilities in the US?
No, I think that's old school. I think maybe guys would do that. I don't think that's the best management of talent, because like you can get some private company to do that. I think guys in the way before I was even born, guys were doing that stuff because there wasn't. I mean, I was in Iraq and Afghanistan were fully popping off, so no one's going out like testing security in the States.
Right. Like, what do we do with all this downtime?
Yeah, like what downtime?
Right, exactly. So can you take me through like an interesting operation or deployment that you did at DEVGRU?
Yeah, and I think I've talked about it before, but I think, people say, oh, this operation happened or this one made the news. Like, yeah, it's very big and important on a geopolitical scale, but like there's been way crazier situations. And one was when my buddy Will Chesney's dog took around Cairo. We landed, these guys were in the orchard. We couldn't see them. My night vision was just splashing. I mean, my IR laser was just splashing off all the trees in the orchard. And Will sent Cairo in his dog, and his dog's got a little IR beacon. And we're getting comms like there's dudes in the trees, like I can't see them, and we hear like a really muffled gunshots. Boop, boop. Will recalls the dog. Dog runs out around and he's like limping. He got shot through the arm and through the chest. But when that happened, I saw a guy in the tree line like 15 yards away from me.
Oh shit.
So I just started dumping on him, and I just let my body fall because there's a little like mud wall like this high where I was standing. So I just dropped and I just plugged away, and that guy went down. But then there's all these really tall cattails because it kind of went down to like a little stream and then back up in the orchard. And then a dude like 5 feet away pops up out of the cattails. And I'm like, oh! And then one of my teammates just runs behind me and drops him. And then during that whole time, which was like, they were already on the radio, getting Kazovac to come pick up the dog, and the PJs were like, chest seal, boom, 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 doing all the stuff. And Cairo lived and definitely saved my life. So
wow.
I've heard people say like, oh, military working dogs, a waste of money, blah blah blah. I'm like,
really?
I mean, obviously, someone very ignorant, right?
Sure, but
I'm like, firsthand, I've seen it work.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, that was probably like people like, oh, were you ever scared? I'm like, not really. But like that one was like, oh, that guy was closer than I thought.
Yeah. Did you guys have EOD guys kind of attached to you? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Outside of like their just CQB tactics and stuff, was there anything that EOD was doing that was maybe different at a tier 1 level than?
I'm sure there were. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were. But I'll tell you this: we were out somewhere, and guys bring their books and they're reading on their downtime. And this EOD guy was reading a book, and I look over his shoulder, and it's like atoms and particles and like sketches, and I'm like, bro, you're like, so like he was really into it, right? I'm like, I'm glad you're on my team because that looks like a headache.
That's so funny. Now, what's kind of your mindset? I mean, you've been in a number of firefights, and granted, it sounds like a lot of them are in a sort of overmatched situation, but what's kind of your mindset during these firefights, and how are you kind of keeping your cool approaching this problem set?
I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what I think. I just, I'm going to go get these guys. Like, that's it, right? Mm-hmm. You train so much with the same guys so much. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, let's go do what we do. Okay. It's like if you were on tour doing a set as a band, you're like, yeah, let's just go do what we do. And that's it. You get done. Hey, I could have, I missed that chord. All right, cool. But like, you're so good and you have so many other guys with you who are so good too. It's like playing a video game.
Yeah, right. Now, is there, I guess, the reason I'm asking is I'm trying to see, you're a tier 1 dude, what kind of like mindset could you maybe give or a tip could you impart to just like an average person kind of going through stressful shit in their own lives, and that feels like overwhelming because everyone's kind of dealing with their own shit, but we all feel overwhelmed. And what sort of training did you learn from training that kind of helps you get through that?
So I'll work backwards on that. So
yeah.
Training doesn't teach you how to be a Navy SEAL. Training just sees if you already have what it takes, right? Mm-hmm. Coming from an endurance athlete background, just disassociating and going, right? And like almost enjoying the pain and suffering made it easy and to get through BUDS. So BUDS doesn't teach you how to do anything besides dive and shoot and that. It's too fast and too hard to sit there and teach you some mental jiu-jitsu to make it through BUDS. You have to already have it, right? Mm-hmm. But what I tell people, which is another huge misconception, is they go, oh, you just compartmentalize well. I said, I don't compartmentalize anything. Mm-hmm. I prioritize, right? It's like I'm on a mission, buddy gets shot. I'm not compartmentalizing those two things. Like, that's different. I got to finish the mission. I'm prioritizing. Like, I need to finish this mission first. Make sure there's no more guns shooting at us. Then call in the bird. Stop the bleeding. Get him to where he needs to go. And then I'll address how I feel and what happened to my buddy when he was shot. Right? It's not, because I think when people compartmentalize, when you compartmentalize things, I think it's really hard to like find the key and open that box back up. But if you just prioritize it, say, I'll get to it. You're just not number one on my list right now. Number one on my list is win the fight.
Right.
And then number two is this, number three is that. And then number four, check up on my boy. Oh man, that sucked. That's what I tell people. I'm like, don't try to compartmentalize stuff. Prioritize it, right? I'm stressed out about this, and this. I said, okay, what time is it now? Okay, it's 3:00. Okay, cool. What needs to get done today? Well, just this one thing. Okay, what is it? Let's go do that. Right. So, and that even helps literally prioritizing things you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? And then really being like, do you need to do this or do you want to?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like what you say, controlling the things that you can control, on learning how to tell the difference, because it can feel overwhelming being like, oh, fuck, there's so much shit going on, but it's like, yeah, but some of that stuff is going to go on regardless, so, what can you physically control, and then prioritizing those things. That's a really good note.
And then you can get super pragmatic too. And then like, who fucking cares? Like, how does it affect you?
Yeah.
Let's go worst case scenario, which each of those things, what will happen?
Mm-hmm.
I might be 5 minutes late to this. Is it worth the anxiety you're giving yourself right now?
Mm-hmm.
No, and that's if everything goes bad.
Right.
That's going to be the consequence. So like, come on.
Right. What stresses you out nowadays? Does anything really kind of...
No. If someone asks me like, what do I do to like decompress? I say, don't compress. Live a life compress free, man.
Yeah. You're a Zen dude.
I just, I focus on what matters, and to me what matters is my health and my family unit. And if everybody's happy and healthy, like, everything else is just in the details. Like, it's not really going to bother me.
Right. Now, did you pick up any new specialties while you were at DEVGRU? Like any other new...
No, DEVGRU is so beautiful in the sense that when you're there, you're just on the gun. Yeah. So much so that even we have Navy SEAL corpsmen that go to the long course and do all the things. When you're at SEAL Team 6, they're like, nope, no med pouch for you, no medical equipment. Really? You're on a gun. We just bring the PJs.
Yeah.
You got guys who are JTACs, who are whizzes with the radios.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, you're just a shooter. We bring in the combat controller. So like, it's really cool. It's like, you need to take headshots at this size, at this distance, like that, right? So that's all you have to focus on, and it's kind of beautiful to be able to put all of your energy into that one thing and not even think about any collateral duties you have.
Yeah,
because there are none. Be a good shooter. Be a good operator. That's it.
That's really interesting. I mean, obviously, it seems like you are super busy doing that, but I would have also guessed that you're kind of building a larger repertoire of like specialties. But it's like it seems like when op tempo is so wow, interesting.
It's turning and burning. The specialties you're getting is just multiple deployments on the ground. That's
right.
it.
Right. Now I talked to a lot of guys, including friends of mine, that especially actually as breachers and shit, that develop TBIs just through like overpressure in buildings and shit like that. Did you ever experience any sort of like injuries or TBIs, PTSD, anything like that from your time?
No. I mean, for one, PTSD, I had a hard time with even believing when I was a young man, because I had to tell myself, just because I feel a certain way about something, that doesn't mean someone else does. No matter if they signed up to do this job or not, I have to accept the reality that not everyone reacts the same way. Mm-hmm. And, I've recently had a conversation with a mental health professional, and it was very awkward and kind of disappointing to hear that person's stance. I was like, yeah, but you have trauma because anytime you thought you were going to die. And I'm like, who ever said I thought I was going to die?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
My gunfights were like a joke. Most of my gunfights were one way on dudes who were sleeping. Like, why would I think I'm going to die?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my husband was in this unit and they did this and they were on the top of a ridge for 3 days. I'm like, yeah, that's true for him. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And yeah, I'd probably be fucking having nightmares too if that was my situation, but it never was.
Right.
And no, sure, I guess you're just, and the response was like, you just must be the perfect operator. I'm like, what? To be that close-minded as a professional, that's like saying, it's like, you say, oh, I like horror movies and the blood and gore doesn't scare me. And they go, oh, it scares me. It has to scare you too. It has to. It's like, it doesn't. Like, oh, I'm sure it doesn't. And you're like, no, it really doesn't. It's a movie. And me, I go, this is my job. I signed up to be a gunfighter, and we gunfight.
Yeah.
Bullets go both ways. If you get me, you get me. You're not going to get me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get you. But if you get me, get me. Like, that's it. And you might get my friend. And that's it. It's very, very simple, very pragmatic approach to what I signed up to do. And like I said in the beginning, I was like, bro, what did you think we were going to go do?
Yeah.
What did you think this was? Right. I've eaten a blast before, pretty bad. It ricocheted down a stairwell, and like we set the charge off, and like my nose just started bleeding. I was like, "What happened?" And no shots were fired. We made entry and stuff, and like the way the building is an apartment building in Iraq, and like the explosive shock must have like boom, 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 wham, and I was like, ugh.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I did all my cognitive and recall, and fortunately, like no like TBI stuff. But that's the only time I've like eaten a charge. Like boom, I was like, jeez, yeah.
Interesting. Now, how hard was the transition coming out of the military? I guess in general. For you? That's pretty tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really transition, right? I did a transition light because I went into contracting.
Sure.
Right. It wasn't like, boom, briefcase, and I show up at USPS or whatever, right? I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So like me, I'm not the best guy to ask because like I call a spade a spade. I didn't really transition. I just did something else that was kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it was a lot easier for me, and I think guys who have trouble transitioning developed some sort of identity to their job while in the military, where like I knew who I was at 16. I was good with chicks. I had the beard in high school. Like I was a great athlete, very confident, and I thought being a SEAL would be a cool job, not a cool identity. And I always held on to that, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in certain teams. Like, you have your hat on flat. I'm like, I'm a Raiders fan. That's how I wear my hat. Like you need to wear like this. I'm like, we're not even at work. So I never like drank the Kool-Aid at all, and it did kind of ruffle some feathers. But at the same time, I never lost myself or my identity the whole time I was in.
Yeah.
So when I got out, I was still me.
Did you find that like that Kool-Aid aspect was more at DEVGRU than on the vanilla teams, or
no? I think it's everywhere. I think, and I saw it as Kool-Aid because I knew who I was. When you don't know who you are, you don't really see it as Kool-Aid. You just like, oh, this is what we do. This is culture. Who I am now. Yeah, this is culture. I'm like, yeah, this is my job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So, you want to talk a little bit about kind of how you transitioned into the like mercenary side of things?
Yeah. So first, I was like, oh, contract gig, easy money. I'll do some anti-piracy stuff where you just kind of ride the ships and make sure no pirates come. Never saw a pirate. Very boring. My ego was kind of getting hurt because I saw dudes that were like, way less capable than me, and they were the team leaders getting paid more than me, and I wasn't doing anything. I mean, good on them, making the money, whatever. But like me, I was like, I can do so much more. So what am I doing? And I was kind of like going in and out of like, do I join back up? Do I go to SEAL Team 17? I don't know. So I ended up going to SEAL Team 17. And I was really kind of ashamed because I've seen so many guys get out and then be like, I'm going to go do this, this, and this. And you see them 2 years later, like, putting their camouflage uniform back on and coming back. Like, what happened? Like, oh, I missed the brotherhood, right? Or whatever. And I was like, shit. So joined the reserves. Because I was like, this isn't for me. At least the reserves is like, I felt like it was like more guys my age, more capable to do stuff. And, it was a decent paycheck if you can get on orders to do something. And that I played the get on orders, go to language school, get on orders, go to that language school. You can only do that so much until the team runs out of money. And then, or the Navy, runs out of money, or you run out of days to go on orders through the reserves. It's a whole big thing. And then I got a call about actually doing like some more dynamic stuff in the private side. And I said, oh, this sounds like a good use of my skills, right? So that's how I kind of fell into that.
Gotcha. Now, so I've read your book, and I've also kind of researched a little bit online, and just regarding some of the contracting companies. I don't know. I know you use like pseudonyms for people in the book, but you can kind of, a Google search or two, you can kind of piece together some of these things. Are you comfortable if I use names of people, or do you want me to just kind of...
We'll leave them nameless.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got it. So you're working for this company, and with this guy that I believe maybe approached you in San Diego or something like that. So
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I got called to go do something, and I didn't really like the first meeting I had with a guy I knew throughout the teams, and then things really dried up at SEAL Team 17, and I got a call. I called him back. I'm like, hey, tell your boss I want to meet him. So I met this older dude, foreign accent, hardcore, smart, and he put his money where his mouth was. And 2 weeks later, we were overseas working.
Yeah. Do you know or think this dude is... So the whole world of private military contracting, you're kind of moving into, like, yes, it's similar skill sets of what you're doing, but it also, you're now entering this world of like plausible deniability, state actors using cutouts for proxy type stuff. Do you ever feel like maybe you were a pawn in a weird way to some like bigger nation states that are utilizing PMCs for other stuff?
Yeah, I think until you're in office making the decisions, I mean, you can think you're a queen or a knight or a rook, but you're still a piece on the board, right? When you're receiving checks versus cutting checks, I think you're still a piece on the board, pawn or be it any other piece. So I mean, I'm like, yeah, I know what this is. I know I'm being used for my time and whatever I'm doing, and I'm getting paid for it. Like, I knew it, and I was comfortable with it for sure.
Yeah. So really kind of just staying focused on like, hey, what's my job? Am I cool, with the moral aspect of what it is that I'm doing? Because it's interesting thinking about like, okay, a guy that may be working, well, it probably former intel with another nation state, working as a US based military contractor on behalf of Emirati patrons, just kind of like it just seems like a murky world and a lot of kind of maybe like a legal nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, even it's murky even when you're active duty military and trying to share information with government agencies that are overseas with you. It's like, well, we're going to do this, but you can't go and do that because we have a guy here and we got a call from Northern Virginia. And you're like, what? So, I mean, all of it's murky.
Yeah. Now, you kind of mentioned in the book that there was like a big disparity between the caliber of your teammates sometimes at these within these PMCs.
Yeah.
Could we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, the first job I went on, I didn't choose the team. So, when you put together something you want to go do that isn't vanilla, like, hey, we're gonna get paid $200 a day to be gate guards or to do, some benign task, and you go, hey, this is kind of gray. So boom, you lose a lot of guys there, right? It's kind of gray. It's in country X, then you lose even more guys, right? Then like, oh, the pay's only going to be this, then you lose even more guys. So yeah, you want to have all these great guys. And I talk to these people all the time. I know people who own companies like, hey, I want to hire like finance or commercial real estate, like big corporations. They go, I want to hire all these SEAL Team 6 guys and Delta Force guys and tell them they can start off making like 65 grand a year. I'm like, dude, those guys, and they have to move to like Iowa. I'm like, okay, by nature of what you're asking for, they're going to be older.
Yeah.
They may, then the higher probability of having kids and a mortgage and a partner and already making double that. Like, what are you talking about? Right. So you want to have skilled individuals to do whatever it is you're planning to do, but then at the same time, you have to stay in a budget. So like,
right.
You're going to kind of get what you get.
Yeah, no, that's pretty interesting. Do you ever were you ever worried that you're maybe being used by unsavory actors for political or personal rivalries? Did that ever, was that something you thought about or worried about it ever?
No, because even when Iraq and Afghanistan popped off, like before we started vetting intel across all the people gathering intel, it'd be like, hey, this guy's a bad guy, he's a terrorist. And then, a unit would go do a hit on the guy, and you find out the guy who went and said his neighbor was a terrorist actually stole his goat 3 years ago. And you're like, okay. So, no, and if I ever did, you would just say no. And that's what people don't realize. Like, oh, mercenary, no morals, only money. You don't care what you do and who you do it to. I'm like, maybe someone, but not me. Right. In the military, you can't say no.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, I think this is just a farming village. Like, no, these are all bad guys. You're like, okay, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm still going to go do my job. Yeah. But I can't say no.
Right.
When you work for yourself, you answer to yourself, and you go, I ain't doing that. No way, bro. I'm going to act like I didn't even hear you say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. One interesting detail, or I guess like something that I was thinking about when I was reading your book, which by the way, why don't you go ahead and plug it really quick, because I read it through your audio book, and the voices, which was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it hurt too doing the voices, man. I had to like drink tea and honey and all that stuff. No, it's fun to do. Yeah, American Mercenary. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere you can buy books.
Cool. Well, what I thought was interesting was the details about like how you're sizing people up. You're taking, account of like smaller details about like, okay, what people are wearing. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it's interesting.
People are like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do this. I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm like, okay, well, you need to be a this or a that and have that really awesome background in case you actually need to go do something. You need to have that. But like, if you're 6'5" or 4'2", can't use you because you're too big or too small. If you're super jacked, I can't use you. If you're super skinny, I can't use you. If you have neck tattoos, maybe, but you need to be just a person in a country. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty lucky. If I go to Greece, people talk to me in Greek. If I go to Israel, people talk to me in Hebrew. When I go to Iraq, people speaking to me in Arabic. So like, I have that really like, maybe
ambiguous fit.
Yeah, like, okay, you could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
So like that helps, and then it's more of like the soft skills, like, can you elicit information from people? can you figure out, that guy's tax bracket by looking at him, by the way he acts, or like, is that watch stolen and he lives in a shitty house and he's living off credit card? Like, you need to be able to do that so you know who to talk to, so you don't waste your time, right?
Right.
So yeah, like all the different perfumes, colognes, designer this, designer that. You can see, kind of who's who and measure people up that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I think about just in like the real world context is what signals are you putting out and how are other people perceiving those details, and you kind of got to look the part in ways and then be
For
aware of
sure.
how you're being looked at by those details.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? And obviously, we see it everywhere. When people try too hard, it's like you might as well tell people you're homeless. Like we can see through your facade. Like, like just stop. Yeah.
At some point, and maybe this is in Serbia, which will kind of transition to, but there was a woman that I believe, if I'm remembering these details correctly, you kind of referred to her as like a Jessica Rabbit
Yeah.
type person. She's got like the cigarette holder and
The whole 9 yards, man.
Can you talk about her? I wanted to like ask you more about her because she was like she was kind of a minor player.
Yeah, so she's kind of known in that region as like the Queen Mama-san. Like, she was a professional and then started being like an agent for other young professionals, and she knows all the stars and actors and athletes and who indulge in the services of ladies of the night. And I figured she'd be a good place to start for some intel.
Interesting. So was she involved in intelligence, or was she kind of more so just on the
in her? I mean, what do you mean in intelligence? I mean, you have someone who runs every prostitute in 3 countries to all the high net worth people. To me, that's priceless intelligence.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say in any official capacity, but like street, that's a gold mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, really. And what was her role? So you were trying to find information about your target in Serbia. Was that kind of?
Yeah, I wanted to know if this guy, used her services.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, the answer was no. Okay.
Let's see. Okay, so do you want to just kind of talk through what happened? Like, let's just kind of walk through. So you get to Serbia, and for people who aren't aware of like why you're even in Serbia, do you want to just kind of
So I took a job trying to find dirt on a financier. Nothing crazy. Just trying to pin this guy down and see if he's doing stuff that isn't very kosher, right? And I'm meeting people. I'm like trying to find connections to this guy or where he works. And one night I was at a friend's house / source. I was he knew a lot of people, so I asked him a bunch of questions. We were at his house. He's gonna have some people over, have a party, and one of the people I wanted to really talk to, because I found out they worked at this guy's office. He took a phone call, went out while I was there, and I was like, okay, that's weird. And he was gone for a while, and then like an hour later, the front door opens. He flies on the ground, handcuffed. I get handcuffed, gun to my head. I'm like, what? And I really thought it was a prank because the uniforms look so cheap and the badges look cheap. And I was like
Party City Cops.
Yeah, and for real. I was like, okay, so I have a gun to my head. They're yelling at me in Serbian. I don't speak any Serbian at this time. I'm like, what? Does anyone speak English? And then their eyes just were like, an American, what are you doing here? And it was kind of sad. Like, the disposition was, why would an American come to our shitty country? You must be doing something bad. And I'm like, bro, your country's kind of awesome. Like, what are you talking about? But, the kid was a hunter and he had a safe and he had a bunch of guns, which were registered because he's a hunter. And they're like, oh, you like guns? I'm like, as much as the next guy? I don't know. And they were just kind of like asking me these like questions and kind of like accusatory, like, where's your pass? You have a passport? I'm like, of course I have a passport. Where is it? Like, right here. And I'm like, hey, am I under arrest? Like, you are now. I'm like, okay, fine. So I was like, okay, this is going to go 24 hours tops, and I'm out of here. Me and the guy's house I was at, we get loaded up in a cop car. And then there's two other guys in the back of another cop car who I've never seen, right? So we all go to the jail, the police station, and like over the course of a couple of days, I'm interrogated. Like, you're here to kill the president. I'm like, what? Like, just bananas, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And there was a cop there, big dude, and he's like, after the second iteration with me, he closed the door. He's like, look, I believe you, but just so you know, the newspaper is already running with this. And it's going to be like a really shitty uphill battle for you, but like, stand by, buddy. It's going to suck. I'm like, whatever. So I get interrogated, and then I get interrogated a third time by organized crime detectives because there's 4 people arrested. More than 3 is organized crime. So now I'm in an organized crime case. And, the translator that was there tried to read me my charges, didn't speak any English. I'm like, this is like a scene from a comedy. It was just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's all bullshit. I ain't signing that. Whatever. And, over the next couple of days, it was from there to the courthouse, make statements, show up to the Central Zatvor, CZ, the main prison there in Belgrade, get in processed, and I'm just like, what is going on this whole time? Finally get a lawyer. State Department comes to see me after like a month, and they're no help. And then from January to April, I was held there. Then we go to like a very informal court where everyone makes their statements. That lady was like, "You're good to go." I said, "Cool." Go back. Prison guards come, like, "Hey, they call me out." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm packing my bags." Like, "No, go see your lawyer." The lawyer's like, "Yeah, man, I don't know what to say, but when we left, she got a phone call, and the voice on the other side of the line said, the American will be charged for something." I said, okay. So from April to November, I sat with no official charges, which legally they have to charge you within 6 months. And then in that time, in June or July, my lawyer was gunned down and assassinated in the streets of Belgrade. And I found that out because the next morning they bust open my cell room door, and they turn on the TV, and they like searched my room. They thought I had like ordered the hit from a cell phone I had, and like, why would I kill my own lawyer? I don't know, but the newspapers ran with it. And anytime my lawyer tried to get me like on house arrest or something, there'd be a front page article about me being the most dangerous man ever to be in Serbia. And they just ran with nonsense stories. So, trial by media was well underway before my court even started 11 months later.
Wow. Now, did you think that, in retrospect, like you're honestly just like wrong place, wrong time, and then someone ran with it? Or do you think that at all this was like maybe a setup in a weird way, and they were trying
No, because I found out what happened. The kid I was went to go buy drugs. That drug dealer he went to go buy drugs from, his dad was arrested the month before for selling drugs, and they were listening to that kid's phone. Took the kid's house I was at, took him back to his house and saw an American there. They asked me what I do. I said, "I'm American. What's your job?" "I'm a private military contractor." Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. And they just went, "Let's run with it." And it was an election year for the current president. I don't know if he's still president right now. They have really big protests going on right now. So, yeah.
Do you have any insight as to like maybe who killed your lawyer and what that was about?
My lawyer was the biggest defense lawyer in like that lawyer who was assassinated was Slobodan Milosevic's lawyer for the
He's like
war
a
crime. Like,
mobster or something.
no, he was a president that bombed Kosovo.
Oh,
Or no, we bombed Kosovo. Like, yeah, or we bombed them. Whatever. He was like, I mean, my defense lawyer was like the best defense lawyer, mafia, like politician. So like, I'm sure he's made a lot of
enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Now let's see. Since you're kind of familiar with, the shadowy world of PMCs as well as kind of like tier one operations, regarding the war in Ukraine and the fact that it kind of is this like proxy war, what role do you see tier one units kind of, because I'm sure Ukraine has like their SBU and some um, you know assets out there as well as Russia. What do you think those units are doing throughout this war?
I think they're both getting reality checks of what they're actually capable of, right? I mean, I don't think it's a proxy war. I think Russia and Ukraine are fighting each other. I mean, now we have third state actors, North Koreans over there, but like Russia is fighting Ukraine, Ukraine's fighting Russia. I mean, I have no idea. That one's kind of weird to me. Like, obviously, Russia was the aggressor, but like Ukraine isn't an angel either, and like there's corruption like crazy on either side. So I'm just kind of like, oh, what are you guys doing? I think it's sad that a bunch of young dudes are getting killed and deserting and recruiting from prisons, and I don't know if these videos are true, but like kidnapping dudes into servitude, like straight up being shanghaied to go fight. Like, that's sad. Besides that, that's all I feel about that. Like, it's sad. I joined to go fight, right? So like, I can imagine being like, get in the van, you're going.
Yeah, right into the meat grinder.
Yeah.
Do you know how close maybe like Serbian and Russian politics are? Like,
yeah, so Serbia is in a really strange spot. Like, they're really centrally located, and everyone around them is NATO or EU or something. Like, there's some affiliation, and then you have Russia, and they're like, oh, Russia, big brother, big brother. But the president, Vucic, who I was there to kill. I mean, look, everyone, when I was in prison, everyone hated him, but like, he's in a hard spot. He's like in the middle, no affiliation with EU or UN or whatever, NATO, whatever the fuck. And Russia's the only other like standalone country. And they have this weird thing like, oh, Russia's our big brother, but like, they haven't given them money, and Russia doesn't give a shit about Serbia. And not to talk shit on Serbia, but like, it's tiny. And the population's like 5 million people, right? They just don't. The only reason I think Russia's playing nice with Serbia and like, okay, little brother, patting him on the head and giving him like the Xbox controller that isn't on, right? Like, yeah. It's because they don't want more military bases in NATO closer to them, and that's the only reason why.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Just that whole like Balkan region is, there's this kind of Cold War hangover, and
well, then you had the fall of Yugoslavia, right?
Right. Yeah. And then U.S. intervention in Kosovo,
which no comment on that.
Right. Just a lot of stuff that happens kind of behind the scenes, and hangovers from past wars that kind of just, and you just happen to kind of find yourself right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's wild, dude. So do you want to talk about maybe kind of the culmination of this situation? I don't want to spoil too much from the book, so people.
No, yeah. I mean, the culmination was this. I found myself in a shitty situation, and I could either go victim mentality for me, or I go, in the end, I got on a plane. I'm there. I'm in here now. This is all on me. What's my highest priority? Get out of here. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Can I make court dates come faster? No. Can I make a judge want to take my case? No. What can I do? I can read, I can get better at chess, and I can learn Serbian. Done. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work out. Boom. That's what I'm going to do. And I just did that. Right. And then after about like 3 months in, I'd be laying in bed and like, I think just like not having my phone or like any outside connection to the world, you kind of like have your thoughts. And at first I was like, oh man, some of that stuff is like unsavory, like, being mean to a friend and never apologizing, just like weird, like random stuff. I said, you know what, let's dig into this.
Yeah.
And I compare it to, if you go to a yoga class, you're like, think of all the things that stressed you out this week and breathe in, breathe out. I did that every night for 2 to 4 hours in bed for probably 15 months. And I started with my earliest memory, my first memory.
Wow.
Right? And I kind of went, the first bad one was me in Germany as a playground hiding this kid's glasses in the sand and him like crying and couldn't find it. And his dad being like standing over me, like, I saw what you did. Now go get them glasses. I was like, oh man, that fucked up. I felt kind of bad. But I was just being a kid, that it would be a funny prank, and this kid's crying. Now his dad was scolding him for misplacing his stuff and someone being able to get it. I'm like, oh geez. So I just thought about every little thing, and I was like, I'm gonna forgive myself for the things that you don't even think about, right? And I don't think I ever would have thought about if I was still plugged in and talking to people and you live in modern life. And I was like, okay. And then I saw it like not as a scary thing, but like something I looked forward to each night. And like each time I'd like, feel a little bit lighter, a little bit more forgiven. But then I had to remember all the good things I've done too, right? 'Cause it's very easy to be like, oh, I did all this messed up stuff, right? It's like, oh, I'm not, okay, am I a good person? I've done some good things. So I'm happy I had that opportunity, I guess, in a weird sense, to really focus on me, and not in a selfish way, like I'm going to focus on me, but like, let's do a deep dive audit on like everything, literally everything. And yeah, I'm glad I took advantage of it started, like I said, 3 months in. So I'm glad I took advantage of those 15 months of like really digging into like as much as I could remember every little thing I've ever done.
Wow. That's wild. Is there anything that you were like most proud about from your entire career life? Like,
yeah, and I think it catches a lot of people off guard. The thing I'm most proud about is, when you're young and you're an operator and you're good, it's really cool to hear people say, oh, you're so good, which in the SEAL teams, no one really says, but like, he's good. But when I went back to teach students at SQT, and I was fortunate enough to be teamed up with a bunch of other guys who had just left SEAL Team 6, and we were the SQT CQC cadre. So all we did was teach room clearing. And the thing I'm most proud of is when a platoon chief would be like, yo, man, my guys are so good in the kill house. And they all said like you were their favorite instructor and you guys did such a great job putting them through. Like that's what it means the most. I'm the most proud of. It's like, yeah, I did all this cool stuff, but like I'm going to get old and there's still young men out there doing the thing. Being able to like train them and give back and hear the results from their leadership, like that's probably the best feeling I've had in the teams for sure.
Interesting. Are you a like a spiritual guy or religious in any way?
Yeah, I'm kind of on a not weird. I'm on a path right now. I think I am. I mean, I believe in me. I believe in love, and I'm coming around to religion. I think I was like a pretty devout atheist for a very long time. But I'm slowly trying to be open to the things I see and have seen and didn't want to see. Like, no, that's just a coincidence, or that's explainable. But I'm like, maybe there is something. So I've definitely let my guard down as far as letting religion into my life. But I just, I'm tiptoeing into it.
Yeah. So let me just double click on that because that's kind of interesting. What is something like that you're like, oh, that's explainable, or you would have thought that's explainable, but maybe is something,
Like asking for a sign and then like the TV glitches for like no reason,
oh,
or like
really?
I had someone pass recently and I opened my car door and like a white dove feather like went between the crack of my door, me missed my head and like landed on my car seat.
Interesting.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's not even like, I was like, and I'm a man of science. I'm like, white dove migration and over this state in this region in this month, like, no, it's not for another 2 months. I'm like, what? So like, just little tiny things like that. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And what do you do now to kind of stay healthy, stay
I
sane?
run, baby. 2 years ago, I ruptured my Achilles and I wasn't able to run for a long time, and it really made me sad. So I run as much as I can. I work out, but I don't do weights because I end up always hurting myself. So all I do is calisthenics and running, and that's it, man. If I can get a good run in and it's like really hot outside, I'm like high on life the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you looking forward to professionally? Like, what's kind of the next chapter?
Yeah. So my book came out, and that has been fun, and I've been doing podcasts and stuff. I'm developing an app right now.
What kind of
So
app?
like, it's a creative writing app with your friends.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, we're wrapping that up, and then a studio just optioned my book for a TV show. So
Awesome.
sitting down with my showrunner and helping out write the pilot and pitching the pilot. So that's like all super recent, like hitting those milestones. So we should hear back from the studio in the next week or so and see
No
if they
way.
want to order the series, maybe 2 seasons. I don't know. So we'll see, right? And then
Sick.
I'm learning this all as I go, but like once that happens and they order a writer's room for 3 or 4 months and we write out the season. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I teach shooting here and there out in Arizona, but it's going to be 110 soon, so like not too many takers. But yeah, I think my biggest outlet for my brain is just running and being creative and like writing, helping with the screenplay and like developing my app. Like that's like full maxing out my creative side, so it makes me very happy, like mentally stimulated.
That's awesome. And the contracting world, are you still kind of dipping your toe in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. But I mean, I have the luxury of saying like, yeah, I'll take a look at it if you cut the time in half and double the price, right? Because
Right.
I'm not like,
Right.
call someone else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anything in like the corporate sphere?
No, I mean, I do, I speak at events. I spoke at an event last week. But as far as a 9 to 5 corporate, for me, no. I've thought about it because these projects I'm doing are very big, long, slow, stop, go, stop, go.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I could go make some, make a little bit extra bucks and go learn a new skill. But and I really sat down. I really thought about this like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, no, I could be home with the dogs. I get to work out. And like, if that means I'm not eating ribeyes every night, like that's fine, right? I can manage that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like only doing 3 trips to San Diego this year. Okay.
Fine.
So I'm like, I had 18 months of time kind of just plucked from me. So my time is so valuable to me that like I'm willing to live a not so luxurious life just to keep my time mine.
Totally, bro. Yeah, that's big. You kind of realize it's so easy to kind of look at um, compensation as a form of money and uh, something you can like quantify, but the freedom, like literal freedom, but also just like agency over the decisions that you make in your own life is fucking priceless. And I think something that people don't give enough value to in a lot of ways.
Good.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that it's something that isn't valued, as much as people, because you can't count it. But your time is like it's one of those things. No matter if you're a peasant or a billionaire, you're all kind of given roughly the same amount of time. So, what are you going to do to make those moments count?
Yeah, and I tell people too, like, oh, you'd make more money if you do this. You could make. I'm like, dude, if that was my goal, I would have never joined the military.
Yeah, right,
Like,
right. No one does
yeah,
that to get rich.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Dan.
Yeah, man, this is fun. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, bro. Thank you for being so generous with your time. You want to plug your book just one more time, just so people know where to buy it? And
Yeah, American Mercenary, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, and I did the reading. So if you want to hear my sweet voice for 9 hours, do the audiobook.
it's good. I mean, the book's good in general, but the audiobook is actually really cool too. You could be a whatever they call those guys, like a narrator.
Voice actor, yeah.
Yeah. It's impressive. But cool. All right, guys. This has been the Mind Body Mushroom, brought to you by Wind and Sea Coffee. Dan, I'll send you some.
Yeah.
We got mushroom infused coffee, and I'll send you a little thank you package. So I'll get your address and everything when we sign off. But thank you again. This has been awesome, and see you later, bro.
All right, bud. Awesome.